What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the No Name Podcast. And today, there's a lot to talk about. Today's going to be that quarterback tier list. Another episode, another update, week 5 going in. Definitely a lot of movement from the most recent one that I posted. A lot of stuff, a lot of big games happening going on. Um, but before we get into any of that, I had to talk about it. Play of the day, like I said, 3-1 so far. Um, going into 3-1, 2-1, 3-1, I believe. Going into week 5, I was waiting for that pick, looking for something I liked. And then I decided to go with Brian Robinson. I mean, rushing yards over, it's 63 and a half. The the Chicago Bears have a solid run defense. It's not nothing crazy. It's not terrible. It's kind of in the middle tier, like what 12 through 16 in that range. Before I checked, I didn't look at the numbers specifically, but okay. Listen, the last game they played against Denver. Javonte Williams gets hurt, second play of the game. All right, they go out there. The main running back is Perrine, and he's just not a threat at running back. Okay, I mean he had a couple moments back when he was in Cincinnati and everywhere else he was bouncing around, but as of right now, there he is no threat running the ball. So last week they were incapable of running the ball effectively, which I really think boosted Chicago's rush defense stats because they only gave up I think a total of like what 40 something yards. Running the ball. So obviously that's going to boost your stats a little bit. So I think they're a little bit higher than what they were before week 4. So with that being said, I mean, just 2 weeks ago, they gave up 153 yards to the Chiefs. All right. Isaiah Pacheco, a guy who only got 15 touches or 76 yards, he hit his rush yards mark. Okay. Against the Bucks, Rashad White, same thing. I think his number was similar to around 60 something, maybe 69 ish in that range. Again, he went over that on only 16 carries, 120 yards as a team rushing the ball for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so again, I really think this is a good opportunity for Brian Robinson to get his touches. They Washington Commanders, they want to run the ball, they want to be effective. I mean, Brian Robinson is 13th in carries in the NFL, which I think is something good that you want to, look forward to because obviously a running back needs his touches to get those yards. But I mean, the Commanders definitely are a team that they want to run the ball. That's just how their offense goes. They were doing it last year. Time of possession was really high. I don't believe they're top 2 in time of possession this year, but they're still up there. They like to, control the tempo of the game, keep the ball away out of the opposing offense, right? Kind of play a San Francisco style type offense. Which obviously everyone wants to run nowadays, where you just control the tempo of the game. So I really do like that prop. Take it if you want. Take it if you don't. I got it. I'm hammering it. I took a few prize pick discounts today, mixed it in with Brian Robinson rush yards. So we'll see how that goes. So far, 1 for 2. Got to wait for Brian Robinson tomorrow. When this goes up, it will be Thursday morning. So later tonight. Later tonight, we are praying Brian Robinson hits that, 63 and a half, which again I think is a very, very generous spot for him. Okay, without further ado, this is what I love to do. QB tier rankings. Let's get right into the movement. All right, I heard a lot of stuff on my TikTok when I posted it. Derek Carr should be B tier, and he's dropping. Look at what he just did. He just got outperformed by Baker Mayfield, man. They just got demolished, all right? So here we go. Let's get right into QB tier list. It hasn't been changed since, I believe, week 3, okay? Hasn't been really been updated, but we got some movement. Notable names not on the list. Justin Fields. He had one good game last week against Denver. I'm not moving him up there. I just think you got to be more consistent. Zach Wilson, another great performance against Kansas City. He's not going up there. It just does not make sense for you to go up to after one good game. I know people would love to see it, but I just cannot do that. Okay, the first things first. All right, I know at the beginning of the year, me and everybody else said Mahomes is clearly the best quarterback in the NFL right now, and there's no denying that. And nobody, and here with me doing this, it's not me saying Mahomes is not the best quarterback in the league, but as of right now, through week 4, going on to week 5, he has not been playing like the best QB in the NFL. So with that being said, Mahomes, 2 INTs against New York last week. Sunday night. Very close game. I mean, Zach Wilson almost had an absolute insane upset. I mean, Zach Wilson absolutely balled out. But boom, Mahomes comes down to A tier. All right, he is not number 1. So who's gonna take that big jump to the number 1 spot? I mean, I think it's without question. Josh Allen gets this spot. He deserves this spot. I mean, he's played absolutely flawless since his week 1 performance. Week 1 performance where they just didn't come to perform. He had 4 turnovers total, 3 turnovers, 1 fumble, 3 ints, 1 fumble. It was just overall a terrible game. But I mean, ever since then he's been locked in. Against the Commanders, he didn't look on fire. All right, but he threw 1 touchdown, threw 200 something, 260 yards ish. Could be a little bit less. They came out with the win. They won 16-0. It wasn't pretty, wasn't beautiful, but I mean, he was consistently just playing well and he did what he had to do to win. But this week, I mean, going against Miami, everyone's saying Tua should be the top tier quarterback. He goes out here. I mean, we all seen it. At first, it looked like it was going to be an absolute offensive shootout, but that defense, that Buffalo defense came to play. So with that being said, I mean, head to head, that dude who you were calling the MVP just got outplayed, man. And Tua had good stats for his game, but a lot of it came with trash yards, trash points. So with that being said, Tua is going to stay where he is. I'm going to respect him for what he did the first 3 weeks, but week 4, he stays where he is. Josh Allen takes that #1 spot. Again, I think this is one of those situations where it is well deserved. I mean, he has played absolutely flawless, basically flawless the last 3 weeks, and he deserves the respect. Okay, with that being said, boom, Joe Burrow, another big name. Okay, we gave him his respect because of his injury. We gave him his respect because we said, he's playing with a hurt calf. We know where he's capable of playing. We know what he's capable of doing. But with that being said, if they're going to decide to play Joe Burrow hurt, Joe Burrow and being one of the bottom tier quarterbacks in the league, so right now, currently, which is not something we're accustomed of seeing of Joe Burrow, if he's going to play injury free and they're saying he's getting better and better and his calves not really the problem of why he's not playing so good, we're going to drop him down to the bottom of the C tier. Because with that being said, I mean, you could look at the numbers. He's just been absolutely terrible. There's no rhythm. I mean, you've seen it with the frustrations with Jamar Chase. He's saying I'm always open. Joe Burrow's lack of ability to move the pocket now, move in the pocket. I mean, he deserves this spot. I mean, and I respect Joe Burrow a lot for what he's done, but at the end of the day, you got to perform to keep those standards. And when I put you in the A tier for so long, out of respect of where you've been, you've got to maintain that standard, and he just hasn't done that. With that being said, Daniel Jones comes down to the D tier. I will throw him in front of Jimmy G. All right, because we all know how Jimmy G was playing, how Jimmy G looked. All right, has not been very good. Okay, excuse me, Daniel Jones just threw 2 ints. He had 2 ints, 1 fumble. I mean, he got sacked 11 times this game. I mean, yes, a lot of his sacks has to do with the O-line, but also a lot of it has to do with Brian Dable's game planning and Dak Prescott. Daniel Jones not being able to get rid of the ball. I mean, when you know you're about to take a sack, you just got to get rid of the ball. You got to throw it, eat it, throw it somewhere, throw it at someone's feet. You know what I'm saying? You cannot just keep taking 11 sacks a game. And you want to, it's his responsibility as a quarterback to know if I'm going to get sacked and hit this much, you've got to throw the ball. You cannot hold on to the ball. And a lot of the times he did. And when there was chances for him to make plays, make throws, he didn't. I mean, that pick 6 he threw was just absolutely ugly. So with that being said, boom, he goes down to the D tier. Well deserved. Okay, here we go. This is where stuff gets interesting. Derek Carr. I mean, I heard people saying Derek Carr is supposed to be a B tier quarterback. All right. And just look at how he played against Tampa Bay. You can say whatever you want. Looks how he played against Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield outperformed him. So with that being said, all right, Derek Carr comes down. Baker Mayfield slides up right in front of Kirk Cousins. All right. Kirk Cousins, you can say whatever you want. You know what? Kirk Cousins is actually going to drop down to C. Boom. We're making the move. Matthew Stafford coming to the bottom of the B tier list. All right, and I think this is well deserved. Again, Matthew Stafford, he's not throwing as many touchdowns as we would like to see, but I mean he did win this team the game against Indianapolis. Yeah, on this Sunday. I mean they gave up a lead. Yes, they got close, way too close. They forced OT, but at the end of the day, he came out and he won. Still put up 300 plus yards, 1 touchdown, had 1 INT, which is the only bad throw I really seen him make that entire game. So with that being said, boom. Okay, and here's where stuff gets interesting. Dak Prescott will stay right here, all right? We're not going to move him. Brock Purdy, we're not going to move him, all right? Those guys are going to stay. They are not going to be moved. Geno Smith stays as well. He maintains. Jared Goff, again, another one. He maintains. He looked good against Green Bay. That defense came to play, but he didn't have to do nothing spectacular. So he's not going to go up, not going to go down. Brock Purdy, another one. I mean, we've seen CMC's numbers. I mean, definitely that sure helps when you have a running back playing like that, all right? Now, someone's saying MVP if they didn't give the award to a quarterback, 99% of the time. that he's in that discussion, and I think it's well deserved. I mean, what he's been doing is absolutely crazy. 4 touchdowns last week. I mean, you haven't seen this type of play from him since that MVP caliber season in Carolina. So with that being said, there's going to be no movement in this B tier row. I will move Justin Herbert up. Boom, he's going to come in this A tier. He's going to be right behind Lamar. I mean, you know what? Let me show some more respect. All right, Justin Herbert, boom. He's going to hop in right there, right in front of Lamar. Lamar's been playing good. He's been playing solid. Um, he's still having a couple issues with fumbles and taking care of the ball in that sense. Um, he's just running like with a loaf of bread. So I think with his, running ability and him just being a little careless holding the football, when it comes to strips and fumbles in that sense, he deserves to, come down a spot. I mean, Justin Herbert's been playing absolutely phenomenal. I will not disrespect him for his performance against the Raiders, because you can say whatever you want. He only threw for 23, 140 yards, and most of that was in the first half. Second half, didn't score a single point. He threw an INT. Wasn't complete. Believe they only had two third down conversions in the second half. I mean, that Raiders defense was playing a lot better in that second half. So with that being said, he's still going to go up because for his week three performance against Minnesota, I mean, just a phenomenal game, 400 plus yards, came out with a W, all right, and yeah, so I think it's well deserved. Jalen Hurts is going to stay right there. He had a good game against the Washington Commanders, but again, one amazing game is not going to make you jump up. Just the week before, he had 2 picks against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but thankfully Baker Mayfield and that offense couldn't get anything going, so it was okay. Trevor Lawrence, another one. I mean, I'm just waiting for him to kind of make some moves, make some strides, get Calvin Ridley the ball, but I mean, it's just not happening. But he played good enough to beat the Atlanta Falcons. That defense showed up. Boom. No more movement in this S through B tier. Okay, you know what? I lied. CJ Stroud comes up. He's added to the B tier. He's going to be right beneath Matthew Stafford. And I think him and Matthew Stafford are in very, like, you could either him, Baker Mayfield, and Matthew Stafford are very close into, like, you can interchange them, intertwine them. You could really put them anywhere. But I mean, CJ Stroud's main thing for me, obviously, we've seen the yards, his success, his ability to score touchdowns, make beautiful throws, go through progressions, right? With the first year play caller they have in, I forgot his name, but we all know I've butchered his name a couple times. That first time, the first year play caller in Houston. I mean, it's just great to see. I mean, you couldn't be happier. Um, but I mean, I think this is well deserved for C.J. Stroud. Baker Mayfield, I believe he's had the main thing for C.J. Stroud right here. While he's behind Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield has to do with the completion percentage. I mean, the completion percentage is not something you'd like to see, but again, we're CJ Stroud, they just pulled off 2 wins in a row. All right. He's looking good. He's throwing touchdowns. He's connecting with Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and these guys getting him involved. So with that being said, boom, nobody else is moving to that A through B tier. Right here. All right. Russell Wilson slides up to the front of D tier. Because again, the biggest thing I care about is winning games. And with that being said, all right, Tannehill also comes up. He hasn't done nothing spectacular, but he's one game. Max Jones has had the worst game of the season so far against Dallas. Did not look good. Did not look good at all. All right, Jordan Love, he's gonna slide to the. Ooh, you know what? I take that back. If Deshaun Watson played half decent last week, but obviously he missed the game. If he would have came in and just played decent, he would have definitely slid up that spot. Jordan Love's gonna stay right here. Anthony Richardson, another person, he's gonna stay right here because in that second half of that Rams game, he came out here, he started balling. He wasn't anything perfect, but he started making plays. His ability to use his feet just makes him so lethal and such a dual threat player. Kirk Cousins, like I said, I already moved him down, and boom. Let me know what y'all think of this tier list. I mean, honestly, personally, I think it's really respectable. I think it's really good. Sam Howell made his first appearance on the list. Yes, he's at the very bottom because I'm not going to forget about the 3 INTs he threw just last week against Buffalo. 4 INTs he threw against Buffalo. But he did play good against the Eagles, which is, I mean, division rival. The Eagles supposed to be a Super Bowl contender, so that's a big game for him. I mean, like I said, consistency is everything for me right now. And don't be surprised if Joe Burrow has another performance like that, he slides down. The main reason why I can't really move any of these guys in the bottom tier over Joe Burrow is because of the wins. And I mean, I could technically give Ryan Tannehill a boost into the C tier, but again, I still remember that 3 INT week 1, right? The one thing I can say about Joe Burrow, even though he's not turning the ball over, even though he's lacking efficiency right now, he's still not turning the ball over. So I think it's well deserved that he's the last player in the C tier. He's really close to dropping down another tier. Russell Wilson again, he's had great numbers. He finally put it together to get a win, but again, start the first half so terrible. I mean, they have yet to play a full 4 quarters of football. So that's something you'd like to see, the consistency aspect of all this. With that being said, let me know what y'all think of this QB tier list. Again, I think I did a really good job. I think I this is pretty respectful, pretty honest. And I mean, it has to be said, has to be talked about. It's when you see a lot of people talking about it on Twitter, podcasters, analysts. I mean, it's just been everywhere. And it's what's going on with the Cincinnati Bengals. What's going on with Joe Burrow? You know, what should Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals do with Joe Burrow going forward? I mean, it's clear to see on the eye test alone that Joe Burrow is not the same quarterback that we are used to seeing. Last year, he was a debatable top 3 quarterback throughout most of the year. I believe so. I mean, he just played phenomenal football last year. He was winning games, making it happen. And then you've always consistently heard me talk about giving him praise for how he's always been that one dude to go head to head with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it's just one of those things you have to respect him for what he's done. But I mean, at this point, it's getting absolutely ridiculous. I mean, Joe Burrow just got guaranteed the most money in the NFL as a quarterback. He just got his bag. He just got the biggest contract ever as a quarterback. All right. I mean, Justin Herbert set the market for him. Boom. He got more than Justin Herbert. And there you go. I mean, so now he is going to be a very rich and healthy man. This guy is definitely capable of being a franchise QB for the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals fans, they know what they have. Everyone in the NFL knows what the Cincinnati Bengals have. Okay. But I mean, just look at the numbers. I mean, 27th in passing yards, 27th in yards per game, 182 yards per game, which last year he was at 279.7 yards per game. All right. Nearly 280 yards per game last year, which is obviously almost a 100-yard drop. Okay. 29th in QBR. He has 2 touchdowns this year, which is 28th in the league in passing touchdowns. And Andy Dalton got 2 in one game alone against the Seattle Seahawks. All right. I mean, and then boom, he's last in quarterback rating. I mean, it's passer rating, excuse me. And it's not one of those things you want to see. I mean, it's not like I said, it's not what we're accustomed to seeing of Joe Burrow. I mean, and now Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals front office, they got big decisions to make. I mean, it's clear Jamar Chase is unhappy. He believes he's not getting the ball as much as he should, and he should be getting the ball that much. I mean, he is that top 3, top 5 wide receiver in the league year in and year out. And this year he has not been given the chance to do that. The one time he got more than 7 touches, he went for 120 yards last week. I mean, we know how good he is. We don't have to reiterate how important Jamar Chase is to not only the NFL, but this Cincinnati Bengals offense. And then you got T. Higgins, another guy he's supposed to be a guy who's supposed to get a contract from someone other than the Cincinnati Bengals this offseason when his contract's up. I mean, he's been seen as a legit number one receiver option for some teams if once he becomes a free agent, he has to market this offseason. So, I mean, it's not something you want to see. I mean, you can clearly see it. Joe Burrow is not able to move. I mean, the inability for him to move around the pocket, which was one of his biggest attributes as a quarterback. His ability to move around the pocket, feel around the pocket, step up, move, slide right, boom, throw on the run, use his feet when the defense is manned up across the board and he's got an opportunity to take off and run. And you have seen zero of that this season. I mean, and through 4 games, he's debatable to be the worst QB in the NFL. I mean, Andy Dalton has better numbers than him in one start, and then he just got he has worse numbers than Zach Wilson, okay, which is the absolute most disrespectful thing you could possibly think of. Okay, we know Zach Wilson, he had one good game against Kansas City, but he has not been a factor at QB at all this season. We know some people have called him the worst quarterback to ever start in the NFL. So I mean, it sucks to see this happen to Joe Burrow and to the Cincinnati Bengals. But I mean, there is a serious decision that needs to be made. I mean, I've said this before. If they just let Joe Burrow rest and sit out and get 100% healthy, or like, there's no need, especially with the 1-3 start, there is no need to put Joe Burrow out there week in and week out to try to win games when he clearly cannot win games, when he's not being himself. He's when he's it's unfortunate to see. You don't see him take many shots down the field now because he can't push off that back foot and drive his ball down the field. I mean, you have seen a completely different type of quarterback, and it all has to do with this calf injury, which could honestly lead to an Achilles injury, which is the biggest thing for me. Because if I'm Cincinnati and I'm Zach Taylor and I'm that front office, I'm telling them, do not play until you're 100% healthy, because Jamar Chase can throw a pout, throw a little hissy fit, pout, do all that stuff. Sure, I mean he wants the spotlight on him, make it all about him. Go ahead, okay, but we've seen what Joe Burrow can do. We know what he's capable of, and if someone like Jamar Chase can't respect that this guy's just not healthy, and you want to sit him out until he is completely healthy, even if that means you don't make a playoff run this year, then so be it. Okay, you still got Jamar Chase on a contract for another year before, and you're probably going to send him in the offseason, unless something goes terribly wrong to where he goes, oh, I want to trade, I can't, well, all this stuff. But before you even get in that, you got to worry about that your franchise guy, the guy who took you to the Super Bowl in year two, the guy who sent Patrick Mahomes home, all right, who shut him down, who was one flag unnecessary roughness away from going back to the Super Bowl, taking down Mahomes again. All right, I mean they were this close to going right back to the Super Bowl, and it would have been a very good game to see. I mean, I'm a big Joe Burrow supporter, especially what he did in college. I mean, this stuff was just phenomenal. He's been just an absolute baller. I mean, he's just a great quarterback. He's one of the best in the league. I've always ranked him very highly. I think he's top three, undebatable in through the first 3 years of his career, 4 years of his career. All right, and now it's getting to the point to where you've got to take care of him. I mean, this guy's too valuable for you to let him get injured, lose him for another year, depending if the injury just gets worse and worse and worse. Okay, but I mean, overall, you just cannot let him be one, lose the morale on that team, because listen, if you go out there with Joe Burrow and you see clearly that he is injured and you start off 1-7, 1-8, there's going to be a lot of bad morale in that locker room, because instead of taking him out, sit on the sideline and just waiting your time. Like I said, whether you now become a top six pick candidate because you're not playing with Joe Burrow, it's okay. I believe the players can accept that. Injury sucks, but it is what it is. But when you have your star quarterback out there who's incapable of throwing the ball to your best receivers, your best weapons, dipping and dunking and all this, it's just not something you want to see. And I mean, listen, we know how Joe Burrow plays. He likes a lot of five wide. He likes, spread the ball out. He wants to run that spread offense. They're not a typical power I team, all right? But maybe you have to change the style of your offense. Maybe you have to become a more run dominant offense because of Joe Burrow's injury, just until he gets healthy. But you have to help him out. You cannot drop him back and throw the ball 45, 40 times a game and just him keep straining and straining and straining his calf. I mean, there is a high possibility that nothing will happen and he's just going to get better over time. Okay. Because that's what I've heard a lot of reports on. That specifically with what's going on with him, it was just one of those things that will get better over time. Okay. Or there's a possibility that he gets hurt for a year and then you see another Aaron Rodgers situation. I mean, that's just not something you want to see. And when you're putting all the pressure on Joe Burrow to be Joe Burrow, when he clearly can't step off that back foot and throw the ball, and he can't do the things that Joe Burrow likes to do, and you've got to know that. And Zach Taylor's got to know that. Zach Taylor has got to know that Joe Burrow is not Joe Burrow right now. So let's make this game easier. Let's rely more on Joe Mixon. Let's rely more on wide receiver screens and, playing a more San Francisco West Coast style offense. I mean, dip and dunk down the field. You have to adapt to your players and play to their strengths. And if Joe Burrow has no strengths, no strong suits right now, the best thing you can do is make it easier for him. Run the ball a little bit more. Throw some more short passes, screens, boom, boom, boom. You won't be this high powered, deep deep passing offense, right? Deep threat offense. I know you have all those explosive weapons, but they are all athletes at the end of the day. They can all make plays with the balls in their hands. So if you got to come down and start checking stuff down, boom, boom, drag out, run some mesh, wide receiver screen, dip and dunk. Start getting the running backs involved at the backfield more. Screens, swings, all this stuff to make the job for Joe Burrow easier. And they're just clearly not doing that. And I would be so worried if I was Joe Burrow if I continue to play like this and not only one, because let's just say this, right? Let's just say the media is lying to us, that Cincinnati Bengals are lying to us, and Joe Burrow is not getting any better. If he is getting worse week in and week out, and you're still continuing to play him, whether he decides to play, whether you allow him to play, you're telling him to play, whatever. Somebody's got to tell the other no. Somebody's got to stand up and say this guy's too valuable to risk him getting hurt in a long-term injury. because an Achilles injury is not something you can really come back from. I mean, he already tore his ACL once. You don't want to see that dude tear his Achilles, and then it's just gonna that's a lot of toll on his body. You don't know how he's gonna come returning from injury. So I mean, if I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan, if I'm a Cincinnati Bengal coach, GM, whatever, I'm in the front office, I'm the owner. I'm sitting Joe Burrow until he is 100% healthy. There is no reason why you shouldn't be out here taking care of your players, especially players that you are paying $300 million to. Excuse me, 280, 280. I forget the exact number, but you know, highest paid QB in the league. All right, there is no reason I'm gonna risk him playing like this and just getting worse, especially if we're on a 1-3 start. There's no reason for it. With that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed. I mean, this Joe Burrow conversation is serious. I mean, you know, it's I'm a bit like I said, I'm a big Joe Burrow fan, so I don't pray this on anyone, even though they're in the AFC, even though they sent us home on their Super Bowl run we in the first round of the playoffs in the wild card. Listen, I never pray for this for anyone, not on my worst enemy. So take care of the man. I mean, you paid him his money. You know what he's capable of. He's been in the Super Bowl once. He was, like I said, one personal foul from being right back there. So I mean, you have to take care of him. Zach Taylor has got to step up and put the playoff goals aside for a year. Okay, it's just going to be the best for everyone. It's going to be the best for Joe Burrow. It's going to be the best for Zach Taylor. It's going to be the best for this Cincinnati Bengals organization and for this fan base. With that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed. Let me know what y'all think. Appreciate if y'all would like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about what I said. Let me know what y'all think about my QB tiers. Let me know if you tailing the play of the day. Like I said, Brian Robinson, 62.5 rushing yards. It's going to be a hit. With that being said, appreciate all y'all. See ya.